In May, Westside detached home sales were up 53% year over year, but the benchmark price is still down 8.5% from a year ago. Those two numbers should not both be true at the same time. And the reason they are, that tells you almost everything you need to know about where this market actually stands right now. Here's the scenario I want you to think about. A buyer has been watching the downtown condo for months. They've been reading the headlines, buyer activity is picking up, the market feels like it's turning. So they decide to act before the window closes. They come in near asking, no competing offers. They get it. But when they pull the comparable sales from the previous few weeks, they realize they paid about $30,000 more than they needed to. Not because of bad advice, but because the recovery they've been reading about was in the detached segment. The condo they bought was still in a completely different story. Here's what I want you to understand. There is no single Vancouver real estate market right now. There are several markets inside of one, and they are moving in completely different directions. I know that's hard to navigate. The headlines are mixed. Some things are moving fast, others are sitting. You're trying to figure out which story actually applies to you. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's moving, what's sitting, and what that means for where you stand right now. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. Let me set the table. Every month I pull two data sources, SnapStats Metro Vancouver Edition and the Greater Vancouver Realtors Reports, to build a full picture of what's happening across the city by area, by property type, by price band. SnapStats gives me the speed and volume data at the neighborhood level. GVR gives me the year-over-year benchmarks and the sales trends that show me where we are relative to last year. And right now, that year-over-year comparison is telling a very different story from the month-to-month picture. That gap is where the market's real story lives. What most people are trying to figure out right now is a simple question. Is the market recovering or not? And the honest answer is it depends on which market you're actually asking about. That's not a dodge. That's the most useful thing I can tell you. Spring also brings more inventory onto the market. That's just the calendar. Inventory is up month over month across most areas in April and May. Some of that is sellers who held back over the winter coming back out onto the market. Don't read every inventory increase as a bearish signal. Some of it is just seasonal. And here's where it gets interesting, because the two biggest numbers in this month's data are pointing in completely different directions. And that tells you something that a simple "the market is up" or "the market is down" headline never will. Sales activity is up significantly year over year. Vancouver West detached sales in May were up 52.9% from May of 2025. Vancouver East detached sales were up 28.2%. Those are meaningful numbers, not a blip. That's real buyer activity coming back into the detached segment. But here's what's sitting right next to those numbers. Benchmark prices are still down 8 to 10% year over year across the city. Vancouver West detached benchmark is sitting at $3,025,000, down 8.5% from a year ago. Vancouver East detached benchmark is at $1,654,900, down 9.7%. Buyers are back and they're not bidding up. That combination, rising sales volume alongside falling prices, doesn't happen in a market that is clearly recovered. It happens in a market that is finding a floor. Buyers have decided the price is close enough to acceptable, but they're not competing. They are transacting at the price they can live with, and the successful sellers are just simply meeting them there. Now, flip to the condo side. The story completely changes. Vancouver West condos, there's 1,748 active listings, 272 sales. That's a sales ratio of 15% roughly. Technically balanced, but sales are down 5.9% year over year. And those active listings down nearly 22% from a year ago, meaning there is less supply than there was, yet sales are still falling. That tells you something important about where condo demand is sitting. Here is what is actually happening. The detached market and the condo market have reached completely different stages of price acceptance. Detached buyers have done their math. At an 8 or 9% discount from last year's prices, those numbers work for enough buyers that they're still pulling the trigger. Activity is up, the floor feels close. Condo buyers haven't gotten there yet. The benchmark for Vancouver West condos is 783,300, down 6.8% year over year. Vancouver East condos, 640,800, down 7.9%. But with the East Side condo days on market up over 41% year over year, taking 34 days now to sell compared to 24 days a year ago, buyers are not in a hurry. They're watching, they are qualifying, and they are not acting. Let me get specific, because citywide averages hide a lot of variation, and the variation is where your decision actually lives. Downtown first. Downtown detached market, condos and townhomes combined is sitting at 13% sales ratio in April. That's balance. Roughly 1 in 8 homes is selling. That number has been stable for several months. But inside that number, there are meaningful differences. Yaletown is running at 16%, Downtown Core at 12%, West End at 12%, Cole Harbour at 13%. The most active price band downtown right now is 600 to 700,000, running at 23% sales ratio. That is a seller's market band inside of an overall balanced market. If you're a seller in that range, you have more leverage than the headline number suggests. The weakest band, 1.75 million to 2.5 million downtown, that is firmly buyer's territory right now. If you're looking at luxury condos downtown, this is where the negotiating room is. East Side attached. The East Side condo market is running hotter than the West Side. 18% sales ratio in April, the healthiest condo market across the city. Mount Pleasant is at 23%. Grandview Woodlands is at 22%. This is important if you're buying or selling in East Vancouver. The market there is closer to balance to sellers than the downtown and West Side numbers suggest. West Side attached. Fairview and Kitsilano both running at 25% in April. Those are both sellers' legitimate market neighborhoods in the condo world right now. If you're selling in either of those two areas, the data is working for you. Compare that to Marpole at 6%, Oak Ridge at 6%, Point Great at 6%. Those are buyers markets with real negotiating power. One number I want to flag separately. North Vancouver attached. Median sales price in April hit $1,018,000, up 18% from March's $865,000. That is a significant 1-month move. I want to be careful here because 1 month is not a trend. But North Vancouver Detached is also running at an 18% sales ratio with days on market at 11. If you're sitting on the fence about North Vancouver, the data suggests that fence is narrowing. East Side townhome inventory is worth noting too. Active listings are up nearly 35% year over year. Buyers looking for townhomes on the East Side have more choice right now than they've had in several years. That's not a bad time to be shopping. So what does this actually mean for you? If you're a buyer looking at detached homes, East or West Side, you're buying into a segment that has found a real momentum. Prices are still down from last year. Sellers are meeting the market. You have leverage right now that might not exist in 6 to 12 months if this trajectory continues. That is not a prediction. This is a pattern I am watching. If you are a buyer looking at condos, the math is completely different from where I stand. In the $600,000 to $700,000 range downtown, you are more in a competitive pocket. In Fairview and Kitsilano, the market has tightened. In Marple, Oak Ridge, and Point Grey, inventory is building and buyers have tons of room. In this 1.75 to 2.5 million range downtown, you have real negotiating power right now. If you're a condo seller, the data is honest with you here. 13 to 15% sales ratio means the buyers exist, but they are not rushed. Your pricing has to be sharp from day one. In this market, a condo that comes out overpriced doesn't gradually correct. It just expires. The days on market tells me buyers are more patient than they were a year ago, which means they will simply wait you out. If you're a detached seller on the west side, this may be a better moment than the last 18 months. Sales are up 53% year over year. More buyers are in the pool, but those buyers are disciplined. Benchmark prices are still down 8.5% from last year, so they know exactly what they can pay. Pricing right now still matters. Meeting the market is still the game. Before I wrap up, I want to hear from you. Are you actively watching the market right now, or are you just waiting to see where things land before you move? And if you're waiting, what is the one thing you're waiting to see? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one of them. Here's the one thing I want you to walk away from this month's numbers with. Vancouver doesn't have one housing market right now. It has several. And your strategy depends entirely on which one of those you're actually in. If you want to walk through what the data means specifically for your situation, whether you're buying, selling, or just figuring out your next move, the link to book a call with me is in the description below. I'm happy to go through the actual numbers with you. And if this kind of breakdown is useful to you, subscribing means you'll get the next one. I put one of these out every month. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.